Let me tell you something that still messes with my head. This happened to my Aunt Rachel in the fall of 2016, but it's a story that's haunted my family ever since. My aunt lived in a small one-story cottage just outside Asheville, North Carolina. It was quiet, almost too quiet, surrounded by woods on all sides. The kind of place where the wind through the trees sounds like whispers at night. She'd always been a cat person. When she moved into that cottage after her divorce, she adopted this jet-black rescue cat named Milo. He was strange from the start. The shelter said he had survived a house fire and had some trauma, but Rachel loved him anyway. He never made a sound, never meowed once, just followed her around silently, always staring like he was waiting for something. At first, Milo would sleep at the foot of Rachel's bed, always curled into a tight ball. But about a month after she moved in, he stopped doing that. Instead, he'd sit in the hallway, staring at her bedroom door all night, like something was on the other side. Then came the scratching. Every night around 2:30 a.m., Rachel would wake up to this faint scratching at her window. Not from Milo, from outside. She thought it was branches or maybe a raccoon, but when she checked, there were no trees near that side of the house, just empty yard and woods beyond it. One night, she stayed up late reading and saw Milo jump up on the windowsill around the same time the scratching started. He was tense, every hair on his body standing on end, staring into the darkness. She said it felt like he saw something she couldn't. A week later, Milo did something he'd never done before. He bit her, hard. She had just come in from taking the trash out, and Milo bolted across the kitchen, jumped on her leg, and bit her ankle, breaking skin. She screamed and shoved him off. He ran into the bedroom and hid under the bed for hours. She was hurt and angry, but what creeped her out the most was why it happened. She looked back at the door she had just come through and realized it wasn't fully closed. She was sure she had locked it. That night, she locked all the windows and doors. She even pushed a chair up under the doorknob for good measure. But still, around 2:30 a.m., she was woken up again. Not by scratching this time, but by the sound of Milo yowling. Loud, desperate, like he was trying to scream something at her. When she turned on the light, Milo was standing at the end of the hallway, body arched, fur puffed out, staring into the living room. She followed his gaze, but nothing was there. Just the shadows cast by the moonlight coming in through the blinds. Then, the power went out. In an instant, every light shut off, and the house went dead silent. No fridge humming, no clock ticking, just silence, and Milo's low growl echoing off the walls. That's when she saw it. Through the glass of her back sliding door, there was someone standing outside. A man, still as a statue, just standing there, watching. She couldn't see his face, just the outline of his body backlit by the moon. Rachel said she froze in place, every part of her wanting to scream but no sound coming out. Milo was growling louder now, louder than she'd ever heard. He leapt onto the windowsill, puffed up, and hissed directly at the man. Rachel slowly backed into her bedroom, locked the door, and called the police with her cell. By the time they arrived 15 minutes later, the man was gone. But they found something chilling. There were muddy boot prints outside the door, and fresh scratch marks right where Rachel had been hearing them for weeks. They led around the house to her bedroom window. That wasn't the worst part, though. Behind her house, Deeper into the woods, they found a small burned clearing, a spot where someone had lit fires regularly. Remains of food, blankets, and what looked like a tarp. Whoever had been out there had been watching her for weeks, maybe longer. The police never found the man. And Milo? He disappeared that night. After everything, he slipped out somehow during the commotion. They looked for him for days, posted flyers, called shelters, drove the roads. Nothing. It was like he had vanished into thin air. Rachel moved out a month later. She couldn't take it anymore. She told me once, quietly over coffee, Milo was trying to warn me the whole time, and I didn't listen. That cat saved my life. And here's the weirdest part. 2 years later, a new family moved into that cottage. They had a little girl. About a month in, she started telling her parents about a black cat that came to her window every night and sat there, watching her sleep. But they never owned a cat. I've always been more of a dog person, but my girlfriend, Kara, adored cats. When we moved into a little rental home just outside Roanoke, Virginia, she insisted we adopt one from the local shelter. That's how we ended up with Luna, a jet black cat with bright green eyes and a weird, almost human way of staring at you. She didn't meow much. Mostly, she just watched. Quiet, graceful, a little eerie at times, but Kara loved her, and over time, Luna grew on me too. The house was nothing special, just an old 2-bedroom near a forested area and a dried-up creek bed. It had a sagging front porch, creaky floorboards, and drafty windows that rattled when the wind picked up. We thought it would just be a temporary place while Kara finished her nursing program, and I wrapped up some freelance IT work. The first few weeks were fine. Peaceful, even. We both worked odd hours and didn't see each other too much. But when we did, we'd sit on the couch, Luna curled up between us, and watch whatever true crime or ghost documentary Kara was into that week. But then, Luna started acting weird. It began subtly. She stopped sleeping on the bed and started perching by the front door at night. She'd sit completely still, eyes locked on the hallway, tail flicking just once every now and then. At first, we laughed it off, joked about her seeing ghosts or stalking bugs. But it escalated. She started growling, not hissing, growling, low and guttural, like a dog. And always at the same corner of the living room, just past the old vent that led to the crawl space. One night, Kara was brushing her teeth when Luna suddenly leapt up and knocked over a candle in the bathroom. The glass shattered everywhere, and when Kara looked down, she saw that the cat had sliced her paw on the fragments. But Luna didn't yowl or cry. She just stared into the hallway mirror, hair bristled, blood trailing from her paw. When I picked her up to help, she clawed at my chest like she didn't recognize me. That night, we heard something moving beneath the house. I chalked it up to raccoons or maybe a stray possum, but Kara was unnerved. "I don't think Luna's scared of an animal," she whispered as we lay in bed. "I think she's warning us." 2 nights later, we found claw marks on the inside of the crawl space door. I tried calling the landlord to come inspect the underside of the house, but he didn't answer. The voicemail was full. When I drove into town to find him in person, I learned he'd passed away a month earlier. The rental agency never updated the listing. That evening, I came home to find Kara standing at the edge of the hallway, her arms stiff at her sides. Luna was crouched beside her, back arched, tail puffed. Kara's face was pale. "I heard something whisper my name," she said, "from inside the vent." That night, neither of us slept. Luna paced the house constantly. She meowed for the first time in days. Loud, frantic yowls that made my skin crawl. Then, just before dawn, she vanished. We searched everywhere. Every corner of the house, under the furniture, outside under the porch. We even pried open the crawl space and shone a flashlight into the dirt beneath the house. Nothing. No Luna. Kara cried for hours. She swore she heard scratching in the walls that night, like claws dragging behind the plaster. I didn't hear it, but I also didn't sleep. 2 days later, it happened. I had gone to grab groceries while Kara stayed home. She said she wasn't feeling well. I was gone maybe 45 minutes. When I got back, the front door was ajar. Inside, the house was freezing, though it had been 70 degrees outside. And there was blood on the floor, in the hallway, leading to the bathroom. I found Kara unconscious in the bathtub, gashes on her arms like she'd fallen through glass. The mirror had shattered completely. I called 911 and sat by her side until the paramedics arrived. She survived. Barely. The doctors said it looked like she had slipped and tried to catch herself, cutting deep into both forearms. But here's the thing. There was no glass anywhere in the tub. Just blood and broken tile. The window above it had never been opened. And the claw marks we'd seen near the vent? They were back and deeper. We never found Luna, not even her collar. It was like she'd just left or been taken. Kara moved out 2 weeks later to stay with her parents. I packed up the house shortly after, but before I left, I set up a wildlife camera inside the crawl space, curious if some animal had truly been the cause of all of it. When I reviewed the footage a few days later, my stomach turned. The night after we lost Luna, something moved through the crawl space. It was shaped like a person, but too thin, too fast. It stopped once, just before the camera, and turned. The eyes reflected the infrared light like an animal's, and perched behind it was Luna, staring straight into the lens. I shut the laptop and never looked at the footage again. Sometimes I still dream about her, sitting by the door, growling, eyes wide, begging us to leave. Sometimes warnings come too late.